Hello and welcome to my podcast where I'm going to be explaining the invisible forces that shape the human mind. My name is Araya Solis, and today I'm going to be diving into the heavy but essential question. What happens to the human mind when it is subjected to dehumanization and discrimination? This podcast is going to be based on the novel The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, a novel rooted in one of the darkest chapters of human history. This is more than a story about survival. It's a study in what happens when the world tells a person they are no longer human. The Tattooist of Auschwitz follows the true story of Leo Sokolov, a Slovakian Jew who was imprisoned in Auschwitz-Birkenau during the Holocaust. There, he is forced into the role of the camp's tattooer, the man who tattoos numbers on the arms of fellow prisoners. It's hard to overstate the symbolism of this act. The very first thing the Nazis did to prisoners was strip them of their names, their families, their clothes, even their hair, and all that remained was a number. And that's where the story really begins, with the psychology of being numbered instead of named. This kind of dehumanization isn't just physical, it's psychological. When Lale is given his new identity, 32407, he isn't just marked, he's kind of erased in a way. And this is exactly what dehumanization aims to do, reduce people to less than human, less than objects, even. Psychologically, this has enormous consequences. Studies show that people who are chronically dehumanized, whether through racism, genocide, or systemic oppression, begin to internalize the belief that they are lesser. In Lil's case, we see moments where he tries to hold on to his identity, he continues to dress neatly, he speaks multiple languages, and he tries to carry himself with dignity, even being put through everything he has been. These acts of self-preservation are in fact small psychological rebellions against the Nazis. But even then, the damage is very clear. He's constantly navigating a world where being seen as human can get you killed. And not being seen as human is literally what lets you survive. Another layer to Leo's story, and one that reveals the deeper mental toll of discrimination, is his relationship with Gita, a fellow prisoner. In a world built to strip people of emotion and physical connection, Leo and Gita's love becomes an anchor. But even their relationship is shaped by trauma. There's a constant fear. If I love, I might lose. If I hope, I might break. This psychological tension mirrors what is called emotional numbing, a symptom of PTSD where survivors struggle to feel joy, attachment, or even sorrow. It's the mind's way of protecting itself from further pain, but it comes at a cost. A muted experience of being alive. What's really powerful in Heather Morris's book is that we're not just shown how people break, but we're also shown how they bend. Leo never truly loses his humanity, but the fight to hold on to it is very constant throughout the entire book. We see him trade jewels and food to help others survive. He risks his life for small kindnesses. But psychologically, even this survivor's resilience is laced with guilt. And this brings us to another major consequence of discrimination and dehumanization, survivor's guilt. Why me? Why not them? Lael carries this weight long after the war ends, and this is something that we see in real Holocaust survivors too. Even decades after liberation, many still experience anxiety, nightmares, and a deep, painful questioning of their right to exist. But reflecting on all of this, you can pull back and ask, what is the broader lesson here? When a person is dehumanized, their identity is not just attacked, it's systematically unraveled. From forced silence to the loss of bodily autonomy, the psychological effects are deep and often lifelong. Discrimination, whether based on race, religion, gender, or identity, functions in similar ways all around. It chips away at a person's sense of worth, of safety, even of belonging. But what the tattooist of Auschwitz teaches us is that even in the most brutal conditions, the mind reaches for meaning. Love, memory, resistance. These are all tools of survival, sure, but they are also acts of reclamation, in Lael's eyes at least. As a culture altogether, we often ask, how could this have happened? But the more important question is, how do we continue to let it happen? Because the mechanisms of dehumanization are still with us. They live in hate speech, in systems that treat some lives as more valuable than others, and stereotypes that reduce whole communities to caricatures. To understand the mind of someone like Lael is to understand the mind under siege, but it's also to understand the mind in defiance, telling them, I'm still here, I am still human. Thank you for listening to my short podcast episode. And if you are inspired by this episode, then I encourage you to read The Tattoos of Auschwitz and listen to the actual survivors who continue to bear witness and who continue to face these mental challenges every single day from the traumatic experiences of the Holocaust. And an important lesson in all of this is that to see somebody's mind or to see through their perspective, you must first have to recognize their humanity, their courage, and their beliefs, and even their morals.